I'd like to do is who's going to introduce Alan today? Pam, are you doing the introductions today?
Are you waiting for me?
Yep, I was going to do one.
Okay. Yep, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to introduce our Dunedin's finest Scotsman, Alan McHale. He's going to tell us all about everything that the Scottish American Society is doing, and I do mean everything. And before he starts, I just want to say how pleased I feel that I know him. I think he does volumes to bring our Scottish heritage to the forefront here in Dunedin, and I'm so happy to know him. And here, I would like for him to tell you everything he knows, absolutely everything. Alan.
Good afternoon, everyone. How can I follow an introduction like that? To tell you everything I know will only take 5 minutes. So I'm going to tell you about the things I don't know too much about. But I'm only joking. Happy New Year to everyone. I'm going to try and share my screen with the presentation. I apologize to any of those like Larry who may have seen the best part of this presentation before. Because I've done it a couple of times now, but I'm delighted to be with you, and just sorry that we can't meet in person so that I can shake each person's hand and meet them individually. But greetings and good afternoon and Happy New Year to each one of you. So let's see if I can share the screen. Can everybody see the presentation now?
Looking good.
Okay, then. As Pam said, I'm the president of the Scottish American Society of Dunedin. We are situated just up the street at the Scottish American. I've got some problems with my. There we go. So who are we? We're a 501c3 non-profit organisation located in downtown Dunedin. We were formerly the old red brick schoolhouse, which used to be, it was originally situated where the old sheriff's office was and where the new city hall is about to be completed. We were originally situated there, and we moved to our site probably about 50, 60 years ago. All in all, we think the building is 100 years old next year. 2023, we believe, is the centenary of the building itself. The building was designated Dunedin's first historic landmark back in 2019, and we renamed it last year the Scottish Cultural Centre of Dunedin, and I'll explain why we did that as we go through the presentation. It was the first designated historic landmark. And since I came on the board and basically took over the organisation, we've done a number of things to the inside of the building to make it a lot more usable to other members of the public and other organisations within the city. We've upgraded the kitchen, and everything is now stainless steel. We've got an alcohol licence for our members and guests. It was incredible to me that any Scottish organisation didn't have an alcohol licence, but for about 36 or 37 years we didn't have one. One of the extensions is called the Mcgregor Room, and that's where the bar is now. An old storage room that we had in the hall was another extension which was being underutilised, and last year we completely renovated the inside of that and have created a library which is named after Sandy Keith. And for those of you who may or may not have known Sandy, he was responsible for the Highland Games and the Celtic Festival for somewhere in the region of 32 years before he passed away at the age of 72 a few years ago. And then in the next couple of months, we're planning to replace the flooring in the main hall. We did receive some money from the city to be able to do that, but unfortunately, probably due to COVID, the actual cost of the flooring in the hall has increased by about 50% since we first priced it a year ago. So it's going to take us a little bit longer, but we will get that done in the next few months. Anyone who's been in the hall will see that we have represented all the way around the hall the names of families and individuals, as well as other organisations who have their own tartan or their own family crest, which is a link back to their heritage in Scotland. Like the city of Dunedin and the Toronto Blue Jays, as you can see here, that it's not just family names that are represented by the tartan. Organisations can have tartans designed to meet their own needs, and we have them represented in the hall today. As we have the 5 military units of the United States, they all have their own tartan as well, and they're represented around the hall. And it's another way for us to make money as well. We sell these plaques, which are made by a printer within Dunedin, to the specifications of each individual or organisation. So where did we come from is a question I get asked quite a lot. The Scots started migrating to the United States in the early 1700s. Probably the bulk of it as a result of the Highland clearances that we talk about, which is where land was given over to sheep rather than people, so that the individuals who could raise sheep could make more money than they could from the other kind of farming. And a lot of individuals and families from Scotland left there, and many of them settled in the United States. Today, according to the latest census, Florida has over 300,000 expatriate Scots in their population, and Pinellas County has just over 22,000, which is about 2.3% of the population. Dunedin itself was settled in the 1870s and named after the Gaelic word for Edinburgh, which is Scotland's capital, Dunedian. So the name is very closely linked. The actual Scottishness of Dunedin really didn't kick off, though, until about 1957, when the middle school was built and a set of bagpipes was donated by a family in Dundee, Scotland, and that really kicked off the Scottish culture within the city. The Scottish American Society itself, though, began as a social club in 1980, so we just finished our 40th year, and albeit over the last couple of years it's been quite difficult to celebrate that milestone because of COVID. Today the society, though, focuses more on Scottish and Celtic culture and events like our Celtic concert series, which brings the best of Celtic music to Dunedin. So it's less of a social club than it used to be, and that's a factor of many of the older members either passing on or not managing to get down to Florida from up north because of COVID or because of exchange rates and stuff like that. So we've become more of an events-based organisation rather than a social club as it was before. But that in itself has given us the positive opportunity to open up the place to non-members and non-Scots as well. So what do? Well, our mission says that we should be preserving and promoting Scottish arts and culture in Dunedin. We do that through bagpipes and drumming, which you can hear any weekend, Highland and Scottish country dance, storytelling, which is music and drama, tartan, whiskey and shortbread, the Scottish history and hospitality and tourism. So all of these things really are part of what makes Scotland what it is. And we try to bring a lot of the more positive attributes of these characteristics to Dunedin itself. We do that in various different ways. For example, the Isle of Skye Highland dancers are now headquartered in our building, and they're there on a Monday and Wednesday, and they represent the city at many competitions around not just the state, but around the country. They will actually be performing or competing in Orlando this coming weekend. So they're in our hall on a Monday and Wednesday. Then we have the Progressive Arts Theatre Group. They do their own storytelling in their own way. They do quarterly musical theatre productions. And since they joined us about 18 months ago, they've done A Christmas Carol, Charlie Brown the musical, Annie, Shrek the musical. Just recently they did a production called A Christmas Snow Globe, which featured music and performances around around the Christmas holiday. And they've also produced a murder mystery event, which was an interesting weekend. Ourselves, we have weekly music classes. So if anyone's interested in learning how to play the bagpipes or any other aspect of traditional Celtic music, we don't do that for competition's sake. If you refer to the Dunedin, the City of Dunedin Pipe Band, for example, in the high school and middle school, a lot of what they do is geared around competition, whether it be Highland Games or other competitions, both solos and group events around the country. That's not what we're about. We are about learning these instruments just for the sake of playing music. We also have monthly member and guest pub nights, where we have some singing, music, and food and dance. We also have classes in the hall now, probably 5 to 6 days a week. The classes, though, well, before I get to the classes, one of the things we've recently started, say recently, it's about 6 months now, and has caused some personal controversy to me, is a genealogy work group. It's not a class. We're not going to teach someone how to research their heritage, but if you do or are interested in finding out what your heritage is, come along to this workshop on a Sunday evening, and they can help you build your family tree, find ways in which you can research your history, find your way around the many, many tools that are available online now to enable you to do that. We do open our bar for members and guests on that night, and it's really just a donation of $5. Now, I say why it's of personal controversy to me is that, as you can tell by my accent and by my history within the city of Dunedin, I am 100% Scottish, you would think, until I handed in my DNA sample 6 months ago, only to find out that I was 72% Irish and 28% Scottish. So if any of you would like to buy a Scottish kilt, just let me know. I've got 5 of them for sale. But that was not what I expected, given that I can trace my personal family back to the early 1800s, and they're all Scottish. So there must be a huge Irish element that comes into play just before that. And that's probably why my lineage stopped around the 1800s. So, but be careful what you wish for if you're going to research what your past is. The other thing that we do at the hall is, as most people would associate us with, is the whiskey tasting, the water of life, as we call it. The United States market for whiskey is about $1.4 billion in 2019. And I can assure you that not all of that was in Dunedin, although a large proportion of it was. There are 134 distilleries in Scotland, and we aim to explore every one of them in one way, shape, or form. But we also do this in a fun way, in that we include food pairings, we do music and dance performances, and we make a whiskey tasting a fun night. It's not just about the whiskey. And as I say to most people that turn up to our nights, and they're probably fed up of hearing me saying it, it's not about the whiskey, it's about the company you keep and the company you share that whiskey with. And it's about being, having friends and enjoying each other's company as much as it is the food and the wine and whiskey that goes with it. So what else do we do in the Scottish American Society? Well, we celebrate all of the Scottish major events, like celebrating Burns Day on January 25th. Tartan Week in April is now a thing for us. It was something that the Scottish American Society did a long time ago. They used to have a dinner on the Tuesday night. Well, what we're doing is we're tying this now into April the 6th, which is Tartan Day. And for those of you who may or may not know, Tartan Day is when we celebrate the Declaration of Arbroath. And the thing about the Declaration of Arbroath is that the basis of that document, which was produced in the 1300s, also became the basis of the American Constitution. It separated church and state and gave the power to the people, and was recognized by the American government in the late 1990s and became a recognized holiday. So we are now celebrating that in a bigger way. We're putting 2 or 3 events together as an organization that then ties in with the Highland Games and the parade downtown, so that it becomes more of a festival running for a week or a week and a half rather than just a day. Then you've got St Andrew's Night. St Andrew is the patron saint of Scotland, and that is a national holiday back home. So we usually have a concert and a focus on the kids that are learning their craft and skills in our hall. We do a showcase with them around St Andrew's Night, and we also do a whiskey tasting and some other concerts and stuff. And then the last event in the year is one that we just had a couple of weeks ago, which is our Hogmanay. Hogmanay is a Scottish thing. It's New Year's Eve to everyone else. But up until 1957, the Scots never really celebrated Christmas as such. Christmas as a celebration was banned for about 400 years. So the Scots put most of their efforts into celebrating the new year. And that has continued today. One of the biggest world parties round about New Year's Eve is in Edinburgh. We won't make Dunedin the same way, but we do have that celebration now on New Year's Eve. It takes the form of a concert, a catered dinner, and then a party after it to follow that takes you through to about 1 o'clock in the morning, or as in the case of this year to 2:15, which is when we managed to get cleaned up and get out of the hall. But Hogmanay is a holiday and we celebrate it, and we're going to try and make it a thing in Dunedin in the future. We also have our Celtic music concerts. They happen for most of the year now. We used to be just across the winter months from November through to March, but we're doing that most of the year now. The Celtic concerts that we have are bringing the best of traditional and modern Celtic music. Just this month, we have a band on tomorrow night called the Screaming Orphans. And then on the 20th, 21st and 22nd, we're bringing a band from Scotland called Skerryvore. And Skerryvore have twice been voted the best Celtic band in the world by the Celtic Connections organisation. They've been here several times now, and they see Dunedin as their American home, and they're coming here to perform over 3 nights on a Thursday, Friday and Saturday over the 20th of January. So we're very fortunate. Like the Screaming Orphans, they are headline bands that perform at all the major festivals throughout the United States, and we're really fortunate to bring them here. We're now in our 4th year of these concerts, and it's made our hall and Dunedin a destination for that type of event. In fact, one of the events got so big for us last year. There was a band from Orlando you may or may not have heard of called Off Kilter. They were 16 years resident at Epcot in the Disney organization. And they came, and because of the demand for tickets, we had to move that event to the Conway Centre, and we were very fortunate. We had a terrific night there. And it turned out to be one of the last performances of Off Kilter. They had one more performance after that, and then they retired. So we're very fortunate to have them here. But we're hopeful that we can maybe talk Jamie. The guy who you see here, who leads the band, was actually taught bagpipes by Sandy Keith, who I mentioned earlier. So there is a link between him and the city of Dunedin. What else do we do as an organisation? Well, we try to give back as much as we can. All of the arts programme classes are subsidised. We don't charge any of the classes the full rental rate for the building. We also offer student scholarships, and we make donations to the classes so that they can travel to competitions throughout the country. And we also make donations to the school's Scottish arts programmes, whether it be piping or drumming or dance or in any other form. And in fact, we're currently considering the possibility of supporting the STEM programme at the high school. Anyone who knows anything about Scotland, Scotland is seen in America primarily as whiskey, golf, tourism, and heather and bagpipes, as we call it. But if you dig a little bit deeper into Scottish history, they have a fantastic history in science and technology. And I always make this, bring this story to bear that if you're working today, the likelihood is that you travelled on a road that was invented by a Scot. You're travelling in a car whose engine was designed originally by a Scot. If you're making a phone call to anyone or watching TV, that was a Scot, or they were Scots that were involved in it. But if you're servicing your car and you get hurt and you need penicillin, that was also invented by a Scot. So we're very famous for science and technology. And as a group, in recognising that, the Scottish American Society are working out how that we can perhaps help the kids and encourage the kids to take further part in that. But we also do things for the community. During the first COVID crisis, we were helping first responders by providing them with meals. We donate to Dunedin Cares. We gave them over £600 of food last year. And we also helped with the family of the fallen deputy in February last year, and Lieutenant White, who's the assistant fire chief that was hurt in an accident towards the end of last year. She's from Palm Harbour, and her daughter is a Highland dancer. So we've helped her daughter to pay for her classes while her mother is recuperating at home. So coming up for us, as Pam said, there's lots of things going on. We have a series of concerts. We've got 4 concerts left in January. We've got one lined up for February and one lined up for March. Although March says 7 there, it's actually Seven Nations, which is another headlining band that we're fortunate to bring back. December, we had our Hogmanay dinner and concert and New Year's Eve party. And then January, it'll be Robert Burns. And then April is Tartan Week. And at the end of every month, we try to do a member and guest night in the hall, which is just bringing people together to socialise and get to know each other. So there's always something going on. What about the future for us? This year, we're expecting to introduce new classes or workshops in Scottish history, in Gaelic. We did Gaelic a little bit last year. And then Robert Burns poetry. Robert Burns is the national poet of Scotland, and there is an interest in understanding some of the language and some of the culture that goes behind the works of that particular individual. The building itself is always in need of maintenance. It's 100 years old, so there's a lot of work goes into keeping that building going. And then as part of our programme this year, once again, I thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about what we're doing. We want to get out to the community and explain to them that the Scottish American Society is not what it used to be. It's not exclusively a social club for just the Scots. It's something that represents all the best aspects of Scottish culture, but we want to give that back to the community and make them appreciate, or help them appreciate, a little bit more of where did Dunedin come from and what is Dunedin doing today. And then the last thing that we're going to try and get involved in, we did a little bit through the Chamber last year with the Sister City engagement, and we're hoping to expand on that this year. It's quite difficult because, like ourselves, they've been probably restricted even more than we have through COVID, so it's been difficult to get that off the ground, but we'll make more of an effort this year because they just announced, actually, the Scottish Government announced today that they're lifting a number of the restrictions from the 17th of January. So hopefully other organisations across there can get together and we can perhaps reach out to them across the Atlantic and make a connection. So how can you help, or how can organisations help? The first thing we always ask is attend one of our events. Everyone is welcome. It doesn't matter what the event is, we welcome everyone. Celtic concerts is the best in traditional and modern Celtic music. It's not just the music that you would hear in Flanagan's or in the local Irish bars. And what we try to do is, whenever there are major events in the state, like Orlando this weekend, or Brooksville in a couple of weeks, whenever these big acts or big performers are coming into the state, we try to tap into that and bring them to Dunedin on a night that they wouldn't normally be working. And that means it's cheaper for us, but it also means that we get the best that's on the road or traveling around the country. You can become a member, you can take an individual or couple membership, or you can become a business affiliate, which doesn't give you a vote with the organisation, but means that we promote your business to all our members and to those that come to our hall. Obviously, donations and sponsorship, which are tax deductible, are always welcome. Or if you want to hold an event, whether it be a shower, a baby shower or wedding shower, or a funeral or a wedding service reception, whatever it is, the hall is available to members and non-members alike. And you can find out a little bit more about us on Facebook and our website. So I'd like to thank you and your organisation once again for allowing me the opportunity to explain a little bit about what the Scottish group up at the top of the street are doing to help bring a little bit of fun back to Dunedin. So thank you. If anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions to ask? Yeah, Donna, go ahead.
Okay, yes, thank you. Thank you for coming, Alan, and I'm very interested in the difference in the cultures of Ireland and Scotland. They're both in my family, and we, as the Rotary Peace Pole has Gaelic on it, and I've heard you say now Gaelic. Is that correct? More correct than Gaelic. And secondly, which languages have influenced, or which countries, Scotland or Ireland, have influenced those two languages? I sort of think of Irish as Celtic and Scotland as Gaelic. No?
Well, yeah, you're very close. They're what you would call the sources, actually, or the source of the language comes from Northern Europe and can be traced back to the Viking days. And at one time, almost 95% of the whole of the British Isles spoke what would be recognised as either Gaelic or Gaelic. And that happened till probably about the 16th, 17th century. And then they started to break up when the island itself started to break up into different countries. Gaelic and Gaelic, Gaelic is the Irish, Gaelic is the Scottish, are quite closely linked. So they're also spelt the same way. So it's only in the pronunciation that's slightly different, although there are some basic differences in the language. I don't speak either Gaelic or Gaelic myself. I can do the pronunciation, obviously, but which is in itself is quite difficult. But languages are not my forte. The history is that, and I only found this out when I was doing some research on another item last year, that at one time, most of the United Kingdom and Ireland spoke the one Gaelic language, which was astounding to me because I thought English had been around for forever, and obviously it hadn't. That's an interesting question. Thank you for it.
No, thank you.
Sally, your mic is off, Sally.
So, Alan, is there any time that you serve haggis at the center?
Do we serve haggis? Yes. As long as you've had your vaccine and your booster, we'll give you haggis. But I'm only being facetious about that. Yeah, we do it a couple of times a year. If you want haggis, the best and most popular time to eat haggis is around Robert Burns Festival.
Right.
Robert Burns actually didn't happen by Burns. It happened as a celebration of Robert Burns' work, which was probably about 30 or 40 years after his death, was the first Burns Supper. And it was a local Masonic order, a Masonic lodge that he was a member of that got together to celebrate his work. And the first meal they had was haggis with neeps and tatties, as they call it. But that became the tradition for a Burns supper or a Burns dinner. Haggis itself goes back to the Roman days. The Romans used to eat haggis. Haggis is anything that's left at the end of the day, all piled together into a sheep or a cow's stomach, and allowed the Roman soldiers to march the following day and not have to stop to eat. That's where haggis came from. But yes, we do it around Burns. So a Burns supper would have haggis. Or some of our whiskey tastings in St Andrews, for example, we go back to some traditional food. We had a traditional dish at Hogmanay, which is steak pie, which is, when I did a little bit of research around that, the Scots used to produce steak pie on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, and there was two reasons for that. One was to let your neighbours know that you weren't short of a shilling or two, that you did have money and that you could feed the neighbours. And the second thing is it was easy to prepare and would last all day. And if anyone was visiting, you always had something to serve them. So we did the steak pie on New Year's Eve, but we do haggis at other times during the year. You can buy locally haggis. You can buy it in the Celtic shop in Dunedin and at the London store down on Walsingham. And it's readily available, a canned version of the product. Yeah, you can get it a couple of times a year from us. But we do offer medical advice when we serve it, yes.
I didn't know the Roman connection. That's very interesting. I was in Scotland on a Rotary project and staying with Rotarians, and I was there during the time of Robert Burns' birthday, so it was a great presentation of the haggis. I mean, they marched through the room on, you know, carrying trays of haggis and singing and dancing and music. It's just all great fun, as well as a celebration of a wonderful author.
The St Andrews Club of Tampa, they do their celebration around November, around St Andrews Day, and they call it the Feast of the Haggis. And I was fortunate enough to be asked to go and do the Ode to the Haggis at their last event, which was just around St Andrews, around November the 30th. So they make a big deal of it, the haggis itself. But in a previous life, before I left Scotland, I was a sales director for a company who sold haggis. And in the last year I was there, I sold 300 tons of it.
Oh, my gosh.
Which is quite a lot. And the only country in the world that I couldn't sell haggis to was the United States.
Thank you very much, Alan. You've been a wonderful speaker, and I've learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm very grateful. Thank you. Anything else?
Alan, I'll share with you that I was in Africa. I was in old Zimbabwe.
Rhodesia.
When it just after it had flipped over from Rhodesia to Zimbabwe, and one of the better restaurants in what was Salisbury, then the name got changed to Harare, was a Scottish restaurant, and they featured haggis, and I had the best haggis ever in Africa.
In Africa, the likelihood is, if it wasn't made by an expatriate Scot locally, it was probably shipped by our company to that organization. Because
I believe it was
usually ship to them frozen product, as I say, all over the world. Yeah, all
over the world. Well, this would have been back in the I guess the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
And it was.
I think you've got a question. Turn on your mic and.
I'm turning it on. I just want to say, Alan, I've got a history lesson today, and I've known you for quite a while, and I thank you for all the for what you've brought us today. Really appreciate it, and all the stuff you're doing in our community.
Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate it. It's good to see you again.
Any other questions? Raise your hand if you do. Well, Alan, you've done a wonderful job. I've got to say that I had a great appreciation for what you brought, because you managed to bring in what's local, what's historical, and what's international in a very short period of time. Congratulations on a good presentation. I give it back to Larry. Where's Larry? Where are you, Larry?
Very much. I'm hiding here.
You're out of there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, there you are.
Yeah, thank you, Alan. Really
Thank
appreciate it.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, at this point, Pat, you want to do your present a book? You have to unmute yourself.
What we do, Alan, is each week we have our guest speaker sign a book, and that book will be presented to an elementary school library here in our city. But I will sign it for you in my best calligraphy, and it'll be presented. We usually present those around Christmas time.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. I appreciate that. Can I offer to give you a book to add to that collection? It'd probably be around Scottish stories or Scottish poetry. And if I could do that and get it signed by our board, I'd love to donate that to your cause.
Okay, Saint, thank you very much. Good idea.
Thank you.
Ready? How about ready? This is over.
Thank you, Pat.
They
All
can
right,
hear me.
next week. All right, next week.
It's
Sally,
ending.
we still doing our club assembly?
We do. That's what we have on the calendar, club assembly. So looking forward to that. We've got programs pretty much managed through middle of March. So we're working right away on programs and exciting things to happen.
Thank you. Everyone, please attend. I know the club assembly. You learn a lot about what's going on in your club with all the different committees, everything that's going on that they're up to. It's going to be very informative what's going on in your club. So I hope you're here attend to next week, and please share the word with other members who didn't make it today, because I do see that as a very important meeting of what's happening in your club. I'll move into announcements at this point. Linda, are you doing the peace poll, or Wendy, are you doing it? Who's doing the peace poll?
I am. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Bev Fisher asked me to do this week's Did You Know About Peace Poll. So I'm going to talk about the date and time and location. So mark your calendars, February 23rd, 6 p.m. at Highlander Park. And why did we pick February 23rd? We picked February 23rd because it is the 116th birthday of Rotary. So we felt that was a great event to tie into, along with having the Peace Poll dedication. 6 p.m., it is a beautiful way to end your day and begin your evening. So it makes it very convenient for everyone, hopefully. And why Highlander Park? Well, it is going to be placed, the Peace Poll and the signage is all going to be placed right near the fountain, the water. So it lends itself to a peaceful arena of serenity and peace. And the site is a beautiful site. The area will be landscaped and maintained by the City Parks Department. Seating, these are all reasons why Highlander Park. Seating, there's already a 6-foot bench and a great patio there. But in addition, we are adding 2 4-foot ADA compliant benches. Activity is there in abundance. The community center and the fine arts center are very active and are right there. So people will be able to enjoy a beautiful, serene atmosphere, naturally bringing unity to our community. And safety, because it will be well lit and active, it will be a safe place to reflect, and also hopefully a safe place where with little or no vandalism. So this will just, and the fact that we really like also is the City Parks Department will continue to landscape and maintain it. And so we think this is a beautiful spot. The 3 clubs are working together on this, but our club is the lead club. So we encourage you to be in attendance and enjoy it. And next week, I believe Dean is going to talk to you on a Did You Know About the Peace Poll. And so stay tuned to hear what Dean is going to talk to you about. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you. Yeah, it's very important that we as a club turn out for this event, because we're the ones driving this project. And I really hope that everyone will put this on the calendar and try to attend if you can. Wendy, I believe I saw you.
Yes. Thank you, Linda. That was great. We have we're going to do a project that's a project of our club, and we're going to try to get with the other 2 clubs also to get a date to do it on every 4-month basis to clean up Rotary Park. We're going to have put this on your calendar, please. Sunday, February 6th. I believe we have the times. Linda, I don't have the thing in front of me. I'm sorry.
1 to 3. 1 to 3.
1 to 3 at our Rotary Park, which is off the Causeway. More to come on that. We'll be sending some information out on it. I'm getting with Pat DePlasco of Keep Pinellas Beautiful, if I can get with him. I think she's off to see if they have some equipment for us to utilize to clean up with gloves and everything. And it's a little messy back there. And Linda's been walking the park with Bev, and we want to clean it up and get all 3 clubs involved. So we'll take the lead. And February 6th, Sunday, 1 to 3, may have like a little cookout or something. We'll more to come. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anyone else have announcements? Well, I would like to announce for our club this morning at 10:55, our Interact Club met for the first time in approximately 2 years at the high school. So officially that is back underway again. I could not attend because today's my last day of isolation because my wife shared her COVID with me that she brought back with her from Canada. I've been thanking her every morning. But we're both doing well. Matter of fact, she's already back to work. I also mentioned I'm going to send this email out to everyone because you need to sign up for if you want to participate. Tarpon Springs Rotary Club Rise Against Hunger Meals.
Oh, thank you, Larry.
Yeah, that's February 12th. I'll send the email out so everyone can sign up if they want to do it. If you've never done one of these and the pandemic is back under control, I highly recommend you take one for a test drive. My wife and I have done 2 of them, and they are a blast. They're a lot of fun. You meet a lot of new people. It's always something going on. That we've always enjoyed it. Matter of fact, the last one we did, I think we did just over 55,000 meals by 10:30 in the morning. We set a record the last time we worked on this. Matter of fact, I think they had like 2 more waves of people coming in. They had to send them home because the job had already been done. But definitely look into it and see if you want to attend because I highly recommend it. I also believe we also have the International Committee is meeting this afternoon at 3 o'clock for those of you part of that committee. So I hope to see you then. Does anyone have anything else for us? If not at this point, then we'll go into the 4-way test. The 4-way test are things we think, say, or do. Number 1, is it the truth?
Yes.
Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Number 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And 4th, will it be beneficial to all concerned? I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. It was great seeing everyone. And I hope to see everyone again next week. And thank you, everyone. And we are adjourned. Thank you.
Very good meeting. Thank you.
David Bramley, thanks for being with us.